Hi guys, welcome to my channel, and if you haven't hit subscribe already, please do so you can support the channel and keep up with the latest updates. So this video is a bit about practice, and what I mean by practice is repeating a certain task or a skill over and over again for a period of time. Now, a lot of people think that they will practice something for 1 or 2 times and that is going to give them some sort of result. And the truth is that practice takes different amount of time for different people. And the reason why I say this is because it depends on the neurotransmitters that are created in your brain. So for some people who are used to certain similar skills will practice a certain skill and pick it up much quicker. An example of this is that if you're good at running, for example, or if you're good at jogging, then you will pick up the skill of sprinting much easier. So if you're someone who runs long distances or just jogs once in a while, you might be able to learn how to sprint much faster than somebody who's never done any jogging or running in their lives. So it depends on different time for different people that it takes to pick up a certain skill. And a lot of the times people give up very easily when it comes to practicing a certain skill. And by practicing a certain skill, I don't only mean that practicing a certain physical skill, but also practicing a certain mental skill. And by this, I mean changing your thought patterns, or changing a certain belief, or changing the way you think about a certain thing. And an example of that would be how I think about certain situations in my life. So if you are somebody who always constantly thinks that you're the victim of a certain situation, then you need to practice changing that thinking. And when you say you're going to practice it, doesn't really mean that you're going to do it in one day. It means that you're going to kind of practice thinking about it differently every single time you are in that situation. And for some people, it might only take like a week or 2 or 3 weeks of doing that. But for some other people, it could probably take months of practicing that to change that belief or thought pattern. So that's the first thing about practice that you need to remember, that it takes different time for different amount of time for different people. And the other thing is, it takes time because of the neurotransmitters and the neural pathways that are being built in your mind. So when you're practicing, don't think that because you practiced it once and it's not worked out, that that's the end of it. Every time you practice, you are strengthening that neural pathway. So every time you tell yourself, I am strong enough, I can face this situation, I can be positive in this situation, you're creating a new neural pathway. And the stronger it becomes, the easier it will become for you to kind of achieve that goal or change that mindset completely. So every single practice counts. And please remember that just because you practice it twice or 3 times or 4 days or even a month sometimes is not good enough. You need to keep practicing it to strengthen that neural pathway. The second thing is there are 2 ways to practice something and to improve a skill. The first one is the feedback method, where you get feedback from somebody who's around you. And this can be really good in a sporting environment where a coach gives you feedback on how you can improve your skill. Or this can be feedback from people you live with. So it can be your parents, it can be your siblings, it can be your partners who can give you feedback about how you're thinking. So a lot of the times I may not realize that I am being negative about something, but my colleagues or my friends would kind of challenge me on it and say, you know what, you're being really negative about the situation. You need to change this about yourself. And that's the feedback that I'm getting from the people around me. And maybe I can use that to change the way I'm thinking about a certain situation. So feedback is a very important way to practice a certain skill and to improve it in some ways. The other one is trial and error. And a lot of the times what we use is trial and error. And every time we make an error, we give up. We don't really think about, how can I improve that? So making sure that you're using both methods when you're trying to improve a skill, whether it's feedback or whether it's trial and error. When you're getting feedback, see it as feedback, not criticism. I don't believe in the word constructive criticism, because really and truly, if you feel you've been criticized, whether that's constructive or destructive, it's not really going to help you, because you're going to feel a bit bad about it. You're going to feel a bit negative about it. So see it as feedback, and see when people give you feedback, see it from their eyes and not your eyes only. So see it from their perspective and see what they're really trying to tell you, and use that feedback. With trial and error, remember why you're making those errors and try and improve that. And when it comes to sporting environment specifically, athletes need a little balance of both to improve a skill. And a lot of the times coaches overcoach through feedback. They keep giving feedback. But the truth is athletes also need a little bit of time every single week to do trial and error learning, which is just leaving them alone to practice a skill that they want to practice, and making sure that you're just not correcting them, not overlooking them, not hovering on them, just allowing them to go out there and practice whatever skill they want to practice. Because trial and error method works really well when the athlete is very enthusiastic about something, or even when you're enthusiastic about something. Trial and error works much better than feedback, because the moment they're enthusiastic about something and you give them feedback and they see it as criticism, they will automatically withdraw from it and it'll kill their enthusiasm. So making sure that you're giving your athletes or giving your students or anybody who you're trying to help with a certain skill a certain amount of time to do trial and error, because that will really help boost their confidence, because they will see it themselves, and they will reflect upon it and then they will learn it. And even for you, if you are trying a new skill, then make sure you're using trial and error method, because it can work really well. And sometimes even journaling, journal things and write things down can work really well, because sometimes you could look back at those notes and think, oh, you know what, I made this error before and I can improve this in some way. Or even when you're meditating, taking some time to reflect on the skill you're trying to practice and counting back to experiences and seeing how many times you've made an error and how you can improve them that the next time you face a similar situation. So making sure you are using both methods, feedback and trial and error, and making sure you're giving it enough time for those neural pathways to strengthen out. The last thing I want to say is that sometimes you can use the word practice in a very productive way. And what that means is that rather than saying, I'm going to eat healthily 7 days of the week, you can say, you know what, today I'm going to practice eating healthy. I'm going to practice eating healthy for the next 7 days and see how it goes. And when you say you're practicing something, it's like you're practicing a skill. It's like you're practicing, like skipping. You're learning how to skip, or you're learning how to drive, And when you say practicing, it really changes the connotation and it really changes the expectations you have of yourself. And it makes you feel more enthusiastic about something. Because if you see healthy eating as a skill, then you're going to be practicing it every single day to learn how to eat healthily, rather than changing it, very suddenly in one go. So rather than telling yourself, I'm going to eat healthily for this month, you can say, for the next 2 days, I'm going to practice eating healthily and see how it goes. Let's see how good I am at this skill. So you can use the word practice in a very different way to improve habits, which you can see as skills, because anything can be developed. Any habit can convert into a skill. So making sure you're using that word very sensibly for yourself, and making sure you're giving yourself enough time and using both feedback and trial and error method, and making sure you're telling yourself you're practicing something rather than telling yourself, I'm actually going to do it. Whereas really and truly you are going to do it, but making sure you're not over kind of pressurizing yourself to learn a certain skill, because nothing happens in one day. You need to give it some time. So I hope this short video really helped you. And if it did, please do leave your comments in the comment box. And if you have any questions, please do get back to me. I love hearing from you. Take care and have a great week ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.